Jacqueline Demeterio, costume designer for Younger, after being mistaken for being younger than she really is, a single mother decides to take a chance to reboot her career and her love life as a 26-year-old. Heading into this final season, Jacqueline, of the show, I guess, can you talk about how did you evolve the approach to the costumes or change anything? Like what were you looking to do here in this final run of episodes?
Well, it's been 7 seasons, so we started off. Each character has evolved so much over time. So I think, in this final season, it was just showing really the growth of all the characters and all their personal journeys and just sort of storytelling and, through their wardrobe. I think, kind of finalizing where they actually are, like each independent person and in their journey on the show. So I think through the wardrobe, I wanted to really, show those details and for the audience as well. They've all been on this journey with Liza Miller since the beginning, and her, she's evolved quite a lot through this series.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you get to have obviously now Liza Sutton is playing her own age now. So I guess how does that like free up you, or like how are you able to like maybe change her wardrobe and her costumes, obviously now that she doesn't have to pretend to be a 26-year-old?
Well, I think, at the very beginning, when she is lying about her age and everything was very, very forced. It was a bit, over the top of what she thought a 20-something-year-old would wear. Like all the trends, it wasn't like she would take one trend or two trends. It was a trend upon a trend upon a trend. It was a layer on a layer with the accessories and everything. So it was intentionally supposed to look, over the top. And over time, she sort of, as her story goes, I kind of stripped her down each season. So going into this 7th season, it wasn't necessarily like, oh, now she's a 40-something-year-old. What does a 40-something-year-old dress like? Because that's never really been what we've wanted to portray. But you do see her definitely evolve and change. And I think there is a more grown up, more confident. She's showing herself at work with her career, and she's, a stronger person. So there definitely was like cleaner lines and maybe there was some more suiting, but in a, still using a fashion forward way. And, like I used to like culottes instead of pantsuits, to add these certain touches. But she definitely is more, it's just a beautiful dress instead of a dress with the denim jacket and a boot, So we did get to that point. And Sutton is, she is a Broadway dancer. She has a beautiful figure. She's tall. She's like a dream to dress. So, things look great on her, and to showcase her figure was great.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, she definitely was much more, like I said, stripped down in the end. And it was, just more sophisticated, I think.
Yeah. You mentioned Sutton being a Broadway dancer. I mean, there's a couple of really fun theme parties this season. The Great Gatsby theme party is a hoot, and she actually dances to Thoroughly Modern Millie, which is, I'm sure, a lot of fun for people who know Sutton's Thoroughly Modern Millie work. But I guess, can you talk about that Great Gatsby party? Because I just found the costumes there, all of them, were so great, and I'm sure that had to be a lot of fun to get to do. But I guess, can you talk a little about that sequence and stuff?
Yeah, that was obviously fun, and we know Sutton knows what she's doing in that department. So that was, but yeah, it was the Great Gatsby, and it was, all 20s themed. And there is a scene in that episode where she is leaving for the party, and she's, in the office, and she's sort of walking by Charles and getting his attention. And it's funny because that dress, it was, a true vintage 20s dress. And Darren Starr and I had been kind of going back and forth about playing with the hemline, because a 20s, a real 20s dress is right below the knee, and it's not short. And, Liza's hemlines always in the past have been pretty short. So he kept kind of going back and forth about, do you think it's sexy enough? She has to make the impression. It's just down doing the hallway walkthrough, and Charles notices her. And so I worked with my tailor, and we kind of played with the hemline, and we actually shot it that way, longer. And then I changed it for when we actually did the big party scene. And I said to him, he's like, I said, what do you think? He's like, is it sexy or longer? And I said, it is. Like, it's not always necessarily that the shorter hemline is going to sell the sexiness. And we left it long. And I think she really sold that complete like sex appeal when she walked down the hall and he notices her. So that was a fun, definitely a fun party for us to dress with all the background and, have her and her element dancing. It was really cool. It was fun.
And when you're doing that, are you, like you said, like that's a vintage dress? Is everybody's is every outfit in that scene a vintage that you had to go find, or are you making?
Yeah, that was pretty much all. We got from LA. A lot of the wardrobe houses in Los Angeles, so we were able to resource that, and they were all authentic 20s dresses. And I mean, we played with some of the accessories and added some. Maybe there was a couple contemporary pieces mixed in, but we kept it, pretty authentic to the period.
And the other party was, I think it's in the first episode, maybe the Little Women in Space themed party, I believe, right? And I just found that it's just so funny. And like, I guess, can you talk a little bit about it specifically? I love I think the waiters walking around like bubble space helmets on. Yeah. And it's just it's a completely ridiculous thing, but I just love the way it looks.
It was going to be ridiculous because, Lauren, Molly Bernard's character, is always ridiculous and she's so much fun. And so, when I read that and it was like a la, Jane Fonda coming down from the ceiling, it was okay, so we built the spacesuit for her coming down from the ceiling. It had to be a tearaway spacesuit because she strips down and she had to have, the space helmet on. So I had those made of hers because as she actually tosses it to Kathy and Jimmy. And I was like, what if Kathy doesn't catch it and it breaks? Like I have to have multiples. So, but Kathy caught it on the first date. And then we had the extras, the waiters and, some space helmets. And, there's always the great thing about working with Darren is everything is over the top and he'll let you push the envelope. So it's fun. And he's never like, oh my God, this is too much. It's like, his shows are beautiful and aspirational. And so for me to be able to, lend that to him and work with him it's fantastic.
I want to ask you too, like one of the things I noticed watching this season, the empirical offices are so brightly lit and like very white. And I guess how much and I think the costumes on everybody who's in the office looks so great, like in the set. I guess how much of that is you like trying to, thinking of that, like thinking of where they are in the scenes and like where the scenes are located and like kind of costuming to that, or like, do you do that, or like, how does that work? Because it just looks, the show looks really cool. And like, I just was wondering about that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, the office, we've had the same empirical offices for all 7 seasons now. Mm-hmm. So I'm completely aware of the production design and the colors and that office. And that office is very bright and white. And I do use a lot of color on that show because I tend to see that it just really pops, like you said, in that office. And I just think the color on the show with the lighting and the DP works really well. Anytime I do something black or just neutral, I feel like it really just doesn't feel like the same show to me that was recreated. But I do have a funny story about the locations. Usually, you have all the locations and you look at the photos, as costume designers, we work with the production designer to know that we're not putting someone in a blue shirt that's against a blue wall. But there was one location that we were, I think, season 5 of the show, and Hilary Duff's character is in a hotel, and the room in the hotel, I didn't know that we were actually shooting in that room, and she had a I think it was Prada pattern dress on, and she was in front of the one wall that had the wallpaper, and it was almost the identical. You couldn't have ever imagined to the dress. And I was like, and then the director was like, I love it. I think it's it looks great. It's art directed. I mean, it was crazy. And it was an old hotel. It was wild.
That's amazing.
That was the one time where I was like, Oh my, okay, I really need to see every photo of every set because this is like, what are the odds of this?
Yeah, no. Jacqueline Demeterio, the costume designer for Younger, season 7 is the final season is on right now. Thank you so much for doing this. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Stick around. We'll have you here on the group roundtable panel shortly. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Thanks.